Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're jumping right into something truly fascinating, the hidden, timeless wisdom that's been quietly encoded within some of our most ancient texts. We are going to peel back the layers of a story you probably think you know pretty well, the famous narrative of Abraham and Isaac, but we're going to look at it through a totally different, much older lens. We're talking about the original, biblical, astrological, and esoteric teachings that have been passed down through tradition for millennia. So this isn't about modern takes or literal history. This is about tapping into a profound, ancient science that has endured across the ages. Let's dive right in. So let's really think about this for a second. Consider the profound moral paradox at the very heart of this text. Would a divine, loving creator actually demand the literal physical sacrifice of a child? I mean, for centuries, people have wrestled with just how harsh this story is when you read it at face value. It seems to totally contradict the idea of a benevolent universe, right? But what if that shocking premise is actually a deliberate hook? It's basically designed to jolt us out of our everyday thinking, waving a massive red flag that says a deeper, hidden science is at play here. The text practically begs us to look beneath the surface to find its true meaning. And this brilliant paradox shows us exactly why we have to shift our perspective. There's a massive difference between an exoteric reading and an esoteric one. The exoteric view takes the story as fiercely literal, just straight-up historical facts. But honestly, taking that path leads us right back into those disturbing moral paradoxes we just talked about. To really grasp the wisdom here, we have to move past the face value stuff and embrace the esoteric. That is the hidden, holy science underpinning the whole thing. The literal story is really just an allegorical vehicle. It's carrying this huge, cosmic, astrological, and spiritual payload specifically meant for those who know how to look for it. So how did the ancients actually decode this? Well, they used a very specific fourfold path to understand sacred traditions, and the absolute ultimate destination of that journey is the anagogical level. Now, anagogical represents the deepest, most mystical and occult truth hidden inside these allegories. And hey, remember, the word occult simply means hidden from plain view. It's nothing spooky or something to fear. The true transformative alchemical meaning of the Abraham and Isaac story doesn't live on the surface at all. It's tucked safely away in this anagogical depth, waiting patiently across thousands of years for anyone who understands the ancient language of the stars. Let's zoom out for a minute, like way out to the macrocosm. In these ancient esoteric traditions, big overarching themes like the fall and the redemption aren't just cute moral fables. They actually represent shifting celestial world ages. Imagine a massive turning cosmic clock. It maps out the transition from a corrupted cycle, a dark world age where humanity kind of loses its way, to a redeemed era of returning light. So those harsh, seemingly cruel stories in our oldest texts, they signify the prevailing vibe of those dark ages. They set a grim stage to show us a fallen world that desperately needs the spiritual redemption and the rising inner light that always follows the dark. To really get what drives these dark ages, we need to look at a term that pops up a lot in esoteric traditions, the demiurge. Let's break down the actual root words here. You've got demi, meaning micro or small, and ergos, which means the common people, or their collective urge and energy. This is a game changer because it reveals that the demiurge isn't some evil cosmic monster in the sky setting a trap. Actually, it's us. It represents the collective actions, the base desires, and the micro-level consciousness of humanity when we turn away from divine laws. It's the earthly, materialistic urge of everyday people that collectively creates a corrupted world age. All right, let's bring it back down from that macro-level view and look at the highly specific details of our story. We can actually map the entire cast of the Abraham and Isaac allegory directly onto the wheel of the zodiac. Check out these oddly specific details in the text. First, Abraham takes 2 young men with him. Astrologically, that's Gemini, the twins. Next, he saddles his asses, which points precisely to Cancer, the celestial home of the star cluster known as the 2 donkeys, Asellus Borealis and Australis. And the knife he brings for the sacrifice? That perfectly matches the famous sickle asterism found right in the constellation of Leo. The night sky is literally the stage for this drama. Right at the center of this amazing celestial cast is Isaac. And the etymology here is absolutely crucial. The name Isaac translates from its ancient roots to he laughs, which physically correlates to the mouth. But alchemically, this so-called only sun symbolizes the vital inner spark of light. It represents the sun, spelled S-U-N, moving confidently into its home house of Leo. So you see, the story isn't about a literal historical boy in danger at all. It's a timeless allegory. It's about the eternal, radiant sun up in the sky and that divine, illuminating spark housed safely inside every single one of us. Now let's break down the actual step-by-step process of the sacrifice because we are looking at pure, unadulterated cosmic alchemy here. Step 1. Abraham cleaves the wood. Cleaving means dividing it, which forms a cross, specifically the fixed cross of the astronomical solstices and equinoxes. Step 2. He binds the sun. In the grand esoteric tradition, he is actually binding the celestial sun to this wooden cross of time, securing its predictable path through the heavens. And finally, step 3. The ram suddenly appears. The ram is, of course, Aries, the very first sign of the zodiac, arriving exactly on time to kick off the great celestial cycle entirely anew. How cool is that? There are also these brilliant little linguistic clues in the text that reinforce this whole alchemical journey. The story continually refers to Isaac, or the servants, as the lad. Well, historically, the word lad was tied to a foot soldier, or things like stockings and shoes, items at the very bottom of the body. If you look at the traditional zodiacal man, the feet unequivocally symbolize Pisces, which represents the lowest, basest state of existence. This deliberate wordplay shows us exactly where the alchemical process begins. We're starting all the way down at the feet as base, unrefined lead, bound to the earth, but we are absolutely destined to rise to the top and become spiritual gold. And this alchemy becomes mathematically precise when we dive into the sacred geometry. Think about it. We start with the two fish of Pisces. When you perfectly overlap two circles in ancient geometry, you create the vesica piscis. You'd probably recognize it today as the classic Jesus fish shape. Now, creating this exact shape mathematically unlocks the divine proportion, giving us the blueprint for the sacred pyramid or the holy mountain. But here is the really mind-blowing part. The exact mathematical proportions generated are 14 and 22. And where do they arrive at and name the holy mountain in the text? Genesis chapter 22, verse 14. The geometric encoding hiding in plain sight is just breathtaking. At this point, the narrative shifts entirely inward. It makes this profound jump from the cosmos down to the individual. Listen to the exact wording of Genesis 22:13. And Abraham lifted up his eyes and looked, and behold behind him a ram caught in a thicket by his horns. The allegorical story just moved from the stars above straight into the physical anatomy of the human mind. The text gives us highly specific visual cues. Eyes, what is directly behind the eyes, a ram, horns, and a thicket. You guys, this is an anatomical treasure map waiting to be read. Seriously, that verse is a literal map of human neuroanatomy. Let's decode it. The ram's horns represent the hippocampus, a curved structure deep in the brain that literally looks exactly like ram's horns. The thicket, where the ram is caught, is the cerebellum. Medically, this area is known as the arbor vitae, or the tree of life, because it has this distinct branching bush-like appearance. And Mount Moriah, the ultimate destination, that is the summit of the human mind itself. The true esoteric initiation isn't about hiking up a physical hill in the Middle East. It's the internal ascent to the peak of human consciousness, transmuting our base instincts into enlightenment. So this massive, cosmic, and internal journey finally culminates right here at the summit. When Abraham arrives, he names this highest place Jehovah-Jireh, which translates beautifully to, "In the mount of the Lord it shall be seen." Notice that heavy emphasis on seeing. Reaching the top of this inner, anatomical holy mountain allows the fabled all-seeing eye of divine consciousness to finally open up. The great Hermetic revelation is complete. The eternal cosmic cycle happening in the stars is perfectly mirrored in the sacred geometry of the earth, and ultimately, it is unlocked and experienced right inside the enlightened human mind. Which leaves us with a pretty profound final question to ponder. When you look back at these enduring ancient traditions, what are you truly seeing? Are you reading the literal, puzzling, and sometimes disturbing actions of an ancient deity? Or are you staring at a brilliant, multi-layered, hidden map? One that masterfully encodes the movements of the stars, the math of sacred geometry, and the very anatomy of the human brain. It's a map daring you to climb your own inner holy mountain and unlock the light within. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep exploring, keep lifting the veil on this timeless wisdom, and I'll see you next time.